Today, a massive signing was announced that just increased Hawthorn's chances of landing a superstar. The Hawks are set to have their biggest off-season in club history, and no one's talking about it. Let's get into it. So the big signing that was announced today was Winhager who just re-signed with the Saints on a 2-year deal for $2 million a season. It's the biggest contract ever signed in AFL history, and it was a must-do for the Saints. They sort of had to keep him, had to overpay for him, even though I think he's worth about $2 million a season. But if he leaves, then De Koning's not going to the Saints, and other players might leave. So yeah, it was a must-do for the Saints. But this signing has literally just shaken up the entire 2025 off-season. Will Butters stay at Port knowing he's not going to play on design next season? Is De Koning going to go to the Saints? Can they afford him now? And will Sam Walsh stay at Carlton if De Koning leaves for St Kilda? Look, there's massive questions that need to be asked, and we're not going to find out till everything happens. But yeah, let's look at it and let's talk about it. But first, we need to look at what Hawthorn's next move is going to be, and let's firstly take a look at the assets they have to trade in the 2025 off-season. Firstly, these are all the players I think either won't be at Hawthorn or have a chance to leave or get traded from the Hawks. Firstly, Bruce is going to retire. He's already announced that. But James Warple, he hasn't re-signed yet, and he's been offered a 4-year contract at Geelong. He's from Geelong. He was captain of the under-18s Falcons, and yeah, I think he's moving back. Otherwise, he would have signed by now. Look, if you want to keep him at the club, you would have made him the sub against the Crows a few weeks back, and yeah, just from all signs I've seen so far, I think he's gone at the end of the season in free agency. So here are the players and the assets we have to trade in 2025. Firstly, all these guys are pretty much in their early 20s, except for Frost is obviously older, and then Reeves is about 27 at the moment. And at this point, yes, they've played a few games in the senior squad this year, a bunch of them, but yeah, look, they're not getting the opportunity they want, and they could definitely be productive at other clubs, especially young teams rebuilding or sort of in the middle of a rebuild. Plus, Hawthorn have a few picks to play around with, and this first-round pick from Carlton is probably going to be in the top 5 to 10. Look, it's probably going to make this deal, especially for a young player, a rebuilding team. And then the second-round pick from Carlton again is going to be between 20 and 25, depending on how the season ends. But yeah, we have a lot of trade assets to use right now. Firstly, I think all 6 of these guys will definitely be gone at the end of the season. They're too good in the VFL. They're never going to get into the ones. And yeah, they hold a lot of value and would be great assets in a trade, especially for someone like Butters or Reed. Everyone's in their 20s except for Frost, and they would all be great assets to a young team, a rebuilding team, just anyone who's just looking to upgrade in any area, really. Sarong is too good in the VFL, and he's never going to get a game behind Battle and Barras, so he would be great on literally any young rebuilding team right now. Reeves is a solid, underrated ruckman, but he's never getting a game over Meek. Yes, he's a great backup ruckman, but he could be a good impact player right now on most teams in the AFL. Huswaite's young and unproven, but unfortunately he's behind too many good midfielders and he's not getting the opportunity he wants. I think he's going to either request a trade or just be dealt in a trade package over the off-season. Frost is experienced and a good swingman right now, and for any team looking to either retool or just add a nice depth piece, he would be great. Blank was really solid before his ACL injuries, and yeah, unfortunately he hasn't really got back to himself, but yeah, he's behind Sarong right now, and like I said, he's not getting a game over Sarong or any of the other fullbacks, so yeah, he's probably going to be gone. The last one, Jasper Scape. He's a solid player in the VFL. I like him, I rate him, but unfortunately he's not getting the game in the ones, and he's a boy from WA, so potentially he could be included in the Harley Reid package. We're going to look into it in a second, so yeah, let's get into it. The first and most important player Hawthorn need to trade for in the offseason is Zach Butters. Only 24 years old, averaging 27.5 touches, and pretty much gets 30 touches every second game these days. Now, the players and picks on the screen, that isn't the whole trade package. That's just what can be included in the trade package. So let's say both 2025 picks and 2 players to make up for Butters' salary and all that. And yeah, I think that would be fair for what he offers. He fits into Hawthorn's midfield perfect. A high possession player. He's quick and he's hard. He goes hard and he's just the must-have for Hawthorn right now. I would pay $2 million a season for him simply for the fact that he will complete this team and he hasn't even hit his prime yet. So yeah, I definitely would pay $2 million for Butters, and I would trade the 2025 first and second and potentially Sarong and Huswaite, whatever. It's going to be a big package, but it's worth every penny. Hawthorn's second choice is Harley Reid. Now, rumours have it that Ned Reeves, Hawthorn's backup ruckman, is being looked at by the Eagles and moved to Perth. West Coast are obviously in a rebuild, and I think it would actually be a really good move from the Eagles because Reeves he's not an established ruckman, but he's definitely a solid AFL ruckman. Like, he could be your best ruckman in maybe a lower quality side, like a bottom 10 side, but he'd still be a good ruckman, especially if you're trying to better the midfield and increase all those young players developing through the midfield. He's just going to be beneficial to them. Simple as that. You'd obviously need to add some picks, a first and a second in 2025, and potentially Huswaite or Sarong. The reason I picked Sarong is because McGovern's gone now, and Barras left at the end of last season, obviously. So Sarong would definitely be playing in that side every single week. And then Jasper Scaife, like I said earlier, he's from WA. West Coast are losing Oscar Allen in the off-season. So, yeah, it makes sense. He's only 20 years old. So even if it's a depth piece for the time being, or even just, like, it would work. So those three players would definitely work. As a matter of fact, all four of those players would work, plus the picks. So, yeah, I guarantee you're going to see every single pick and player here from Hawthorn. They're going to be included in the trade for Harley Reid if it happens. Hawthorn's third option would be Sam Walsh from Carlton. Rumours have it that he's unhappy at the Blues. Curnow wants to leave. That's public right now. De Koning also wants to leave, potentially going to St Kilda. And now Nas is at St Kilda now. He has an even better chance of leaving. So maybe Sam Walsh says, hey, I don't want to be a part of this rebuild or retooling, because he's only about 24, 25. And yeah, he wants to go to a contending team right now and not waste the rest of his career at Carlton. And I don't blame him. He would fit really well in this midfield. He's a high possession player, really good endurance-wise, and yeah, you have to include the first and second round pick from this season, and potentially, who knows, if they're losing to Koning, Reeves would make sense, even as a backup ruckman, and then Hustwaite in the midfield. Frost would be actually half decent for this team, just as like a depth piece and a swingman, because he can play forward these days. So yeah, Hawthorn's third option would be Sam Walsh, and I think there's a high chance of us getting him actually. The next option, I think this is the must-have for the Hawks, is Marcus Winhager from St Kilda. He's having a fantastic year at St Kilda this year. He's only about 22 years old. He's averaging 21.5 touches, 5 score involvements. He's had 25 plus 5 times, and in his last 6 games, he's averaged 24.5 touches. I really do think he's a must-have for the Hawks this off-season, not just as a last resort pickup, but Hawthorn need to have him on the list. He's a great tagger as well, so he can fill in Phil McGuinness's role. He's already better than Finn. He's younger, and he has way more potential. But the Nazai signing today definitely changes what's going to happen in this situation. But I think Hawthorn can pick him up cheap, fit him into this midfield, and if we get Winhager and Butters, for example, or Winhager and Reid, we're going to be top 2, minimum top 3 team next season. So I think he's a must-have for Hawthorn, even if it's just a depth piece coming off the bench. He's going to be a fantastic player. He is not even near his prime. So yeah, I think this is, other than Butters, the most must-have on this list. Next is Petrarca. I've already done a video on him recently, so if you want more detail, check it out, but I'll just keep this quick. He's our last resort. He will be a win-now play if we get him, but honestly, I would take Winhager over Petrarca right now. But it looks like Melbourne are going into a rebuild next season, and all these players on the screen right now would fit that team great. Stephen May and Jake Lever are getting up there in age, so Sarong would be great as a fullback. Gawn is about 33, 34, so Reeves would fit in there nicely. Hustwaite would be a supplement midfielder for the young squad, and Jasper Scaife would be great for the fact that Melbourne really don't have a key forward. So yeah, I think any one of these guys, and obviously Seamus Mitchell would just be great in a young team, but all of these guys on the screen would make sense in a trade for track. Plus, you'd probably have to give up your 2025 first, potentially your second as well, depending on how things go. But those are just my thoughts and opinions, but I think the Butters trade has just increased dramatically. I think we have a very much higher chance of getting Butters so far. But yeah, let me know what you think. I'm very curious to see what other fans have to say. So comment down below and I'll reply if I can get back to you.